There are thousands of stories of people encountering the same terrifying entity. The Hat Man appears in dreams, often during episodes of sleep paralysis, but for some unlucky people, he shows up during a state of complete consciousness. He typically appears as an unsettlingly tall man, shrouded in shadow with glowing red or orange eyes. His defining features are his top hat and the way that he dresses as if he's from a different time. But what is the Hat Man? Is he a demonic entity or a harbinger of death? Is he a shared delusion amongst the people who have claimed to see him? Is he a tulpa or some symptom of a collective unconscious? Here's some experiences people have had with the Hat Man. This story's from user IamSunshine78. My only encounter was when I was 8 or 9 years old, so it was in the late 1980s, and I was in bed already. I could see my parents' bedroom from my room. Their light was on and the door was open. They were getting ready for bed, and in my doorway, I saw the dark shadow of the man with the top hat slowly lean in and look in my room. I didn't move. I couldn't. Then, as he was almost fully in the door, I was able to scream for my parents. They came running in, turned on the lights, searched the house. Nothing. So of course they just figured it was a nightmare or my imagination, but I swear to you, this was as real as anything I've experienced in real life, and the memory of it is still vivid over 30 years later. But I have no way of explaining what it could have been, except that there are so many of us with similar stories. This next encounter was from user Dad's Going to Prison. When I was pregnant with my first baby, we lived out in the country, and the closest neighbor was 3 miles away. I used to see a man outside, about 100 feet from the house, just staring. I saw him regularly. He was just a black shadow man, but he was solid. He had on a hat and a long coat like a Western duster coat. He would just stand there and stare. I saw him outside of different windows. I felt like he wanted to take my baby. Like he wanted to make me lose my baby or kill him after he was born. It terrified me. After I had my baby, I never saw him again. This next story is from user 8-Bit Brandon. I was in an abandoned field at like 4 in the morning. Side note, don't go stand in an abandoned field at 4 in the morning. I was walking toward a break in the fence when I saw him standing right in front of me and froze. There's this feeling you get when you sense something wants to kill you or some shit. Sheer absolute terror. I had 2 choices, turn my back to him, which I was not going to do, or continue on, which I did. I started taking steps towards him and yelling about how I can see you standing there. After about 4 to 5 steps, he vanished, like turned to dust, and I stopped where he was standing for a couple seconds to see if there was anything there, but there was nothing. I'm usually not scared of shit, but that night still bothers me. Now, that field was owned by an old Native American dude, and when I told my grandma about this, she got real quiet and pale. She said, "You stay out of there," and wouldn't tell me why, but I suspect she saw him as well. Like I said, there are so many stories out there that are so similar of people seeing the Hat Man, but this is the final one in this video. It's from user MaintenanceFar8903. When I was a child, a man in black wearing a top hat would stand at the end of my bed and stare at me. Freaked me out. I shared a room with my sister, but never told anyone because I didn't think anyone would believe me. Many years later, as adults, she told us about a man in black with a top hat that would stand at the end of her bed and stare at her. My jaw dropped. We never talked about it, but described it the same way. We were always scared of that house. Please share any of your theories or personal encounters that you've had with the Hat Man in the comments.